On Sky. Hello, rockers. Welcome to the Monsters of Rock show, the rock and roll show that likes to... Well, that's what we do on this show. What do you do for a living? Right, well, we've got this. What have we got this week? We've got some brand new videos, a competition which is going to send you crazy, there's a clue, and at last, the long-awaited interview with Kiss. We'll be seeing more of that later on in the show. Let's get kicking with some rock and roll. This is Guns N' Roses, and welcome to the jungle. Welcome back to the Monsters of Rock show. Now, as promised, long ago promised, the Kiss interview. The band have got a brand new album out, Crazy Nights. And I caught up with Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley recently and asked them, it's your brand new album, what's it all about, boys?
Well, if you buy the album, you'll find a hole in the middle of it. And it's 11 songs. And we spent a good bit of time doing it. And it's great. I mean, I can't lie. Folks, it's great. It's in the tradition of everything we've done that's real good. I think we kind of liken it to a cross between maybe Animalize, which was the album before last, and Destroyer, which was a pretty good album from what everybody tells us.
One of your classics.
Yeah, so it's quite good. I mean, we spent quite a bit of time writing it, and I think everybody's going to like it. I mean, we're pleased.
Gene, I noticed that Ron Nevison produced the album for you. Now, he seems to be everybody's favourite producer at the moment after his success with Ozzy and Heart last year. What attracted you to him?
Actually, Ron wears very tight pants, and that was one of the more important reasons that we got involved with it. No, that's not so at all. Ron had actually been known to us for a while for his work with the earlier English groups, Bad Company and Led Zeppelin and so on. Right. And that was really much more the appealing factor instead of his recent success with some of the more recent groups. That's not as important. But we'd been producing our own albums for quite some time, and we thought maybe it was time to have somebody else to have a sounding board off of, and Ron seemed like a very good choice. In fact, he really came through, did a terrific job.
I noticed a lot of the material on the new album seems to be written in conjunction with people outside of the band. You, Paul, will go away and write with someone else, and so will Eugene. Don't you guys ever write together?
Also within the band, though. The band also co-writes material with each other. Bruce Kulick and Eric Carr, our guitar player and drummer, lead guitar player and drummer, also co-wrote the material back and forth. So some were outside writers, and some of the material was within the band.
But what about you two? Don't you two ever write together?
No. I think what happened at some point is that we pretty much established styles that were complementary within the band's framework, but at the same time, I think it was essential that they stayed separate. In the beginning, there was more similarity in our writing styles, so maybe they complemented each other when we wrote together. I think at this point, they've both developed in a way that balance each other, and I think it's kind of important to the balance of the band that we keep a certain integrity in our own writing. I don't think that either one of us, quite honestly, wants to compromise for the other. You know, when you have certain ideas of what you want to do, you don't want to give in to somebody else, especially him. I don't want to give in.
Certainly not. I wouldn't want to give in to me either.
Do you have a fight about material?
Oh, sure, all the time.
Rayon, Dacron, nylon.
All the time. No, I think part of a healthy relationship, anybody that tells you they don't have tiffs, which is a word I never use, but you understand what that means, is really just playing nice politics. We fight all the time. You know, this material is better than that material. Let's pick this instead of that. But sooner or later, the cream rises to the top. And always the main motivation for us is always to make the best possible record. And oftentimes, you have to push ego aside. I mean, ego is a great motivation, but you know, you have to push it aside. And often the best songs, whoever writes them, they have to be used. And it doesn't matter that more of the songs on this record are Paul's. They're just better
Ultimately.
songs.
Well, I don't know if they're better songs. I think
Right. Mine are better songs. And
Another Kiss package that has caught my eye recently has been a video that's just been brought out in Britain and Europe called Exposed. Right. It's a bit of a rock-umentary.
Yeah.
It's an exposition, isn't it?
An expose. What we wanted to do, the record company initially approached us and said, why don't we put out the last 8 or 9 videos in a compilation package? And quite honestly, what we felt in the States was, if that's all it is, then we'd just as soon tell our fans to tape it off MTV, you know, because there's really no need to get people paying for something that they can have for free. In other words, it would almost be like subsidizing the cost of making the video in the first place, which I don't think is anything that the fan should have to do. You do the videos as almost a gift to the fans, and then you're turning around and saying, pay for it. So if we were going to put out a package, we felt, let's make it special. Let's give vintage footage, which is a lot of the stuff that I think...
We should mention here, actually, what is actually on this video. There's archive material.
Yeah, there's live material, as in
black and white stuff that goes back. Some of it has never been televised or telecast.
Yeah, when we were it's an open. There's films of us as an opening act, you know. So we were playing a hall for about 3,800 people as the support band, and there's you know, just really stuff that chronicles the band.
But a lot of it is us swimming around, fooling around with a lot of scantily clad females in Paul's summer home in Los Angeles, which is this big palatial house of decadence. It says so as you pull up to it. It says 3819 Mockingbird Lane, House of Decadence. It says so right on the...
So it's fun. I mean, there's great footage. There's also all the videos. There's also interviews with us. There's some beautiful women. You know, sometimes when you buy Playboy and those magazines, you try to tell people that you're buying them to read the articles. But when you buy this, you can say you're buying it for the Kiss videos, when you're actually buying it to see the scantily clad women.
You mentioned very briefly that there's a lot of bands these days that have obviously been influenced by the Kiss of the 70s. How do you view those bands, with, in particular, bands like Wasp or Twisted Sister, who've obviously copped a lot of your look and music?
I think it's fun.
You can't ever... Every band's got to live or die by their own talent, and everybody listens to other bands. We certainly grew up... We don't make any claims to being, you know, the most unique and totally original band that ever existed. We also grew up and listened to other bands, and were likewise influenced by the bands that we grew up with, specifically a lot of British bands. I just got choked up by that. You know, Zeppelin, The Who, a lot of English bands, specifically the more flamboyant of the bands. And so these bands were influenced by us, and, you know, that's the cycle. Rock lives on, and it's fine.
You also can't negate that bands every day are influenced by each other. I mean, it's not necessarily only saying new bands. I mean, just by reason of the fact that we're all playing music, you're influenced by what's going on around you. And I wouldn't want to be so pig-headed to think that, you know, we're this magical force that created a genre of music, right? You know, I think naturally everything is always influenced by what came before it, what's going on currently. So maybe the nice thing is that who knows if we have good taste or bad taste, but there's other bands that seem to have the same taste.
The next Kiss World Tour begins at the start of November, I believe, in America. How long are you going out for this time, and where will you be going?
Until we drop. We have no particular plans. We have the first couple of months booked, and we'll probably stay out, you know, 8 months to a year.
We'll do the States, and that'll take quite a bit of time. You can easily stay in the States for 6 or 7 months and never play the same hall, and do 5 shows a week, you know, and play arenas from coast to coast. So we'll do that, and then after that we'll probably gear up to do Europe. I mean, we're definitely,
right.
Yeah, we're definitely, you know, definitely going to be here. Ideally, we'd like to come over during summer and do festivals, because the one thing that's sometimes difficult for us is when people are seeing photos of us and hearing about our show, sometimes when you come to Europe, you have to compromise that because, quite honestly, some of the stages that we've used, we'd have to knock out the side walls in some of the halls to get that thing in. So by playing arenas, we're a bit limited, but to do the festivals, we'd be able to do the whole show. And that's real important to us at this point. I don't think we want to compromise that, especially for the fans. Real fast.
Lastly, I'd like to ask you both, when a band gets to the stage where it's released 16 or 17 albums, as KISS have now done, the question always arises, how much longer can they keep this up for? Do you see KISS continuing into the 1990s and keeping up the same relentless success that you enjoyed in the 70s and 80s?
It's a big question.
Yeah, it's so hard to say. All you can do is continue something as long as it's fun. And if it's not fun for the people that you're doing it for, then it's not going to be fun for you. And vice versa. I mean, if you're not enjoying it, I think people are going to see through what you're doing and say, well, they're going through the motions. So it's kind of like a party. I mean, when you're at a party, you don't worry about how long you're going to stay. As long as it's fun, you're there. And so far, this has been an endless party. The refrigerator's still stocked. There's still something to drink. There's good food to eat.
And lots of girls.
And lots of girls.
And this is what we want more of. Lots of girls, a big stacked refrigerator. The party is never ending. I mean, Thursday nights, what else are you doing on a Thursday night, for goodness sake? OK, listen, my thanks there to Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons of KISS, and well worth waiting for, I think you'll agree. Now, by the way, you eagle eyes out there will have spotted that we played a bit of old KISS with all the makeup on. Well, that's actually from this video, KISS Exposed, and that was I Love It Loud, which was done in Rio de Janeiro back in 1983. Pretty darn good, eh? On top of which, I've got to tell you this, we got some communications this week from Ron in Holland, who runs the KISS Explorers, which is the official KISS fan club out there in Holland. And good old Ron, fine man that he is, he sent us in some amazing prizes that you can win. All you KISS fans out there, get ready, because here we've got some freaky-deaky stuff for you. We've got some KISS 12-inch picture discs, we've got some KISS albums, we've got a KISS clock, a KISS T-shirt, and there you can see Lick It Up, Unmasked, the whole bit, Hotter Than Hell. Now, we've got all those, and there's not going to just be one of those to people that write in. We're going to give all of those away to the first person that can answer this simple question. Or we might even just give half of those away to 2 people, or if I'm feeling in a particularly generous mood, I might even split it up between 3 of you or 4 of you, or I might not give any of them away. So make sure your answers are good, big and interesting. Now, what's the question? The question is this. If you can name for me the first KISS album and the last KISS album, not the new KISS album, Crazy Nights, we all know that, but name for me the very first KISS album and the last KISS album, and you might be able to win yourself either all of that, some of that, or a bit of it, depending on how good your replies are. The runners-up, of course, will get Monsters of Rock T-shirts. What else can I say? All right, now send your answers to the usual Sky Trax address. In the meantime, I suggest you also, KISS fans, get in touch with Ron from the KISS Explorers in Holland. If you want to do that, here's the address to write to. Write to Ron at the KISS Explorer Army, Regan Boogian, I've obviously pronounced that wrong, but there it is, 147, 2284 Guy in the Netherlands. KISS Explorer Army, I'm terrible, my pronunciation is awful, but I'm sure you took it down there anyway. Send in, because Ron is a fine man. OK, we've come to the end of another show. Brilliant, wasn't it? Let's leave you with a bit more KISS, and this is All Night. See you next week.